warm welcome to all of you to the Economic Times Supply Chain Management and Logistics Summit 2021. As businesses continue to face economic turmoil globally, supply chain experts are facing unique stress and are drawing an increased level of analysis. Now, in 2021, with the apex of chaos fading in the rearview mirror, businesses can start unpacking the lessons learned in order to move forward. Now, through this forum, we have also considered and addressed the relevant and most pressing issues of this industry. It's now time for all of us to deep dive into the chief guest address. In fact, we are focusing on infra for growth, boosting economic development through maritime. And we are truly honored to have Shri Mansukh Mandavia, Honorable Minister of State, Independent Judge, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, and Minister of State for Chemical and Fertilizers, Government of India, to share his thoughts with all of us at the 8th annual edition of the summit.
The इकोनॉमिक्स टाइम्स के द्वारा आयोजित सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट एंड लॉजिस्टिक्स समिट की यह वर्चुअल कार्यक्रम में मुझे आमंत्रित करने के लिए आयोजक का मैं आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट सबसे अहम मुद्दा है। किसी भी देश को अगर अपनी इकोनॉमी को डेवलप करना है, इंटरनल एवं एक्सटर्नल ट्रेड को बढ़ाना है और दुनिया के सामने कॉम्पिटिटिव बनना है, तो लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट को कम करना ही पड़ेगा। बदलते समय के साथ आज लॉजिस्टिक का स्वरूप और तकनीकी दोनों में बहुत बदलाव आया है और सभी के लिए यह महत्वपूर्ण है कि यह सारे बदलाव के साथ अपने यूनिट को भी बदलकर इससे जुड़ना पड़ेगा। सरकार द्वारा भी नेशनल हाईवे का निर्माण, रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी, एयरपोर्ट, सी पोर्ट और वाटरवेज पर बल देकर बुनियादी बदलाव किए गए हैं, जिससे देश के लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट को कम करने में हमें मदद मिल रही है। सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट में इंफॉर्मेशन और टेक्नोलॉजी और आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का योगदान तेज़ी से आज के दिन में बढ़ रहा है, वो भी हमें ख्याल में रखना होगा। मेरे पोर्ट, शिपिंग एवं वाटरवेज मंत्रालय भी मैरीटाइम लॉजिस्टिक में नेशनल सिंगल विंडोज़ और नेशनल मरीन प्लेटफॉर्म बनाने का काम आज तेज़ी से कर रहा है। इन सभी चीज़ों से हमें लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट को कम करने में, सप्लाई चेन को मैनेजमेंट करने में और कार्गो की स्पीड बढ़ाने में हमें मदद मिल रही है, लेकिन हमें साथ अपग्रेड भी होना पड़ेगा। यह समिट आने वाले समय के साथ चलने के लिए हमें ज्ञान और मार्गदर्शन प्रदान करेगी, ऐसा मेरा मानना है। आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Post the pandemic, there's a lot has changed in the logistic industry. There is a tremendous opportunity that seem to be existing for smaller companies, for startup companies in particular, to do well and disrupt the industry, which will be ongoing. So traditional players need to watch out. Traditional organizations need to change. The people in the logistic industry need to recognize the change and recalibrate themselves how they should go about conducting their day-to-day business. The leadership has to adopt the change and make their existence in the organization very relevant. I think the change is across all stakeholders and it is moving very rapidly towards disruption and towards consolidation and towards value creation. One of the key strategy for the company, for the group actually, is to look at how we can be a digitally enabled organization which is future ready. That's the strategy under which we are moving forward. And one of the core or the pillar of our digitization, what we realized is to provide our customers a seamless and a user-friendly and access from anywhere possibilities, and which is something that we worked upon over the last 4 years to come up with what we call as a EQ360, which is a digital platform for our customers to do the online booking, track and trace their shipments, get themselves a quotation, and do all sorts of analytics using the platform, and which is continuously getting user experience-wise supreme quality.
Our next session focuses on a very important aspect, wherein we focus on the future of supply chain and how trade finance is seamlessly integrated into operations going forward. So to share her thoughts, we have Deepali Goenka, CEO and Joint Managing Director, Welspun India.
I'm honored to join you at the virtual summit on supply chain management and logistics, an initiative of the Economic Times. India is expected to be the fastest growing major developing economy in the world. This means an increase in manufacturing and consumer demand and a subsequent increase in demand for an efficient supply chain infrastructure. In recent years, the supply chain and logistics industry has seen some disruptive changes. We have seen traditional practices being replaced by smarter alternatives like smart warehousing, smart transportation, etc. For industries to thrive, it is important that this transformation continues mindfully. That brings me to the most pertinent question: what lies ahead? While medical experts have been warning us about yet another wave of pandemic, how should businesses prepare themselves? With supply chains being critically hit during the lockdowns, how do we navigate our businesses in the event of another lockdown? I would like to spend a few seconds talking about supply chain finance. The past couple of decades have been a globalization of supply chains. While this has offered several benefits to businesses, it has also come with increased risk and security requirements. As a result, the role of supply chain finance has increased in importance and is a critical area moving forward. If you look at the Indian ecosystem, I believe that we are standing at the cusp of exponential growth in the manufacturing sector. However, this needs a business environment that is congenial to innovation. And with supply chains being integral to the manufacturing sector, the development and acceptance of supply chain finance can go a long way in making trade faster and simpler. This is probably the first time businesses around the world have been impacted similarly by a common threat. It's time to collaborate, learn, and share best practices and overcome this hurdle.
Welcome back. Up next, we have a panel of experts discussing the theme of Drive to Thrive, achieving agility and flexibility to enable growth and customer success. Let's listen in.
Mr. Shriram, we would like to understand how did you or your organization ensure quality and cost related factors while driving agility and flexibility in the alcohol beverage business?
Yeah, cost and quality is extremely important in any industry, but it is more so relevant in alcohol industry. The traditional FMCG industry operates with the model of economies of scale, a huge factory in one location, supplying to multiple rate areas, multiple SKUs, and the only difference in cost would be the transportation cost. Whereas the alcohol industry is slightly different from these industries, as the taxation is a state subject. So we need to have factories at different states so that we supply at optimum cost, because getting from one state to another will entitle large cost. So that is a big challenge for all of us as to how to maintain this cost. The supply chain manager, for example, earlier, his work starts with when the material is available and the material is supplied for distribution. But today's supply chain manager talks about end-to-end supply chain, starting from planning, procurement, to production, to distribution, till the last mile it reaches the consumer. So it's a robust mechanism as to how to maintain the quality and consistency across. Unfortunately, our industry is not automated, unlike the pharma industry. So 40% of our products come from semi-automatic lines. And hence, the measurement of various tools, right first time, the defect categorization, are all very important to ensure quality and consistency.
Coming to Mr. Bala Agora Murthy, what steps were taken by Gati to survive and thrive?
As you know, in the logistics industry, this pandemic was both a very testing time and I think also a time of great opportunity. The business that we are in, we speak to customers, we pick up cargo from point A, and then we navigate it through a complex internal network, and we take it to point B and deliver it to the consignee. The pandemic brought this entire network to a standstill. So our network, whether it is trucks, whether it is warehouses, whether it is people, everything came to a complete stop, right? And when we restarted, there were many challenges. The first thing that we had done was to shift the focus of the entire organization to what I call as the value zone. Yeah? The value zone is nothing but where Gati interfaces with our external stakeholders. When you do this, when you focus on the value zone, it is very important to change the culture to a culture of trust and empathy. In this value zone concept, we completely changed the culture to trusting that last man or woman at that interface in the value zone. Now comes the question of refiring that network which had come to a standstill. The last thing, we also took the opportunity to look at our fixed costs. So we really did a zero-based budgeting kind of an approach to strip down the fixed costs structurally by about 15 to 20%. I think it has really helped us to, if anything, present ourselves in an improved avatar versus what we were even before the pandemic.
Coming to Mr. Nihar Med, so pharma industry has been the center of attraction. So VMI for the packing material suppliers seems to have worked for you. So has it become a norm in the pharma industry now? Vendor managed inventory from the suppliers, particularly packing material?
Yeah, I think the VMI model is very prevalent in the other aspects of other industries, right? We have FMCG,
automobile industry,
automobiles, etc. But we, on the technology adoption, while we are very good in the product development side, right, on technology adoption there in the R&D, but on supply chain sides, the whole adoption of technology, we are a little bit lagging behind. Now, while some companies have adopted tools like VMIs or have a long-term or a schedule line agreement with the vendor, some companies, Cipla has also gone full-fledged on a CMO model, wherein we put our bets on several capacities and capabilities which are available in the industry, rather than already investing on our own and creating big mega units.
Yeah.
So, but it's an evaluatory phase, I would say, for pharma, for technology adoption in supply chain as well.
Coming to Mr. Anand Darbe, so any consultancy organization gets an opportunity and exposure to various industries. So, Mr. Anand, any specific observations on the general as well as extraordinary measures taken by any industry?
Yeah, what were some of the initiatives very quickly we saw organizations taking? I think one was clearly micro segmentation. I think the first point is really to understand deeply about, from your customer's perspective, what is really their requirements and needs. We are seeing in life sciences initiatives of companies launching Doctor 360 to really understand and profile their customers and requirements very clearly. Pharma, FMCG was always having these initiatives. They're taking it one level down to a segment of every dealer and understanding this much better. The second is really organizations moving from trying to do everything in-house to collaborating more with partners. Clearly, building asset-light models and collaboration is something we are seeing.
Mr. Namkumar Kulkarni, FMCG is said to never face any recession. Any change, any disruption this particular pandemic has brought into in your industry or in your organization from the demand side or from any of the supply chain aspects?
Supply chains for say FMCG, CPG or any other industry, disruptions are not new to them. So we have seen many disruptions over the years. But what pandemic has done differently, if we see the sheer scale and duration of the disruption is humongous. So obviously disruption has disrupted the supply chain, but what I can say, it has built a lot of good thinking and thought process around the new normal. So how we can really build a different supply chain which will emerge stronger and will be ready for future. That's the thinking. That's the process, or that's the strategy we have adopted in Mondelez. And we found out that there are some fundamental things which, irrespective of industry, can really help you not just to plan and leverage a short-term gains, but also stay competitive in a long term. I think first point is a consumer centricity. I think second thing is around the resilient supply chain. And when I talk about the resilient, it's not just about delivering product or serving to the consumer or churning out new products, new initiatives, etc. Resilience of systems is also equally important.
Coming to Mr. Rajshekhar Reddy, demand planning must have been a nightmare, Mr. Reddy. So let's hear from you.
Everything that we knew of in supply chain had to be cut short. Okay, the length of the supply chain, starting from the demand to the procurement. We did not have those lead times, the luxury of planning, luxury of monthly cycles, the luxury of distances with the suppliers, where we could tell them, okay, you can bring the product by sea, we can send it by sea, stuff like that. That had to be crashed. Okay, the length of the change, what we had to do in the supply chains also had to be compressed. What we had done is we instituted in the organization a weekly review end to end with the business leadership, all the way up to the procurement. So there was no question of, well, I cannot react to it. I cannot find a way. There's no choice. You have to find a way. Everybody knew, understood. And this was able to, we could inculcate this very strongly in the organization because of the trust we had created. How did the trust come along? There was no choice. Everybody had to do what was needed for the consumer. Everybody had to understand. Everybody had to react. I think from that perspective, one thing which could have probably taken 8, 10, 15, 20 years of time in a normal supply chain in terms of reducing the lead time, bringing the organization together to one view, this pandemic has brought.
So thank you so much. I think we had a significantly insightful discussion. Thank you very much.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, as we take these pioneering thoughts with us forward, let's now move forward towards our next session as well. In fact, our next session is a fireside chat. And this time, the 5C topic that we will be focusing on is to do with supply chain risk in the context of a global economy.
Mr. Prasad, your thoughts on this topic in terms of, has this now, the supply chain uncertainty, managing that, has this become a board level discussion today? Or is it seen as something which is a short term that we will tide over?
Supply chain over previous decades or years had been more an operational domain, and as long as the supply is there, everything is good. However, now there is an increasing recognition across the industries, and I will speak more from a pharma especially, that it is not anymore an operations or delivery topic. It is a corporate level topic, or it's a boardroom level topic. In Biocon, we have a risk presentation to our audit committee, to board, and it is on a quarterly basis. And we discuss specifically in the board agenda item as what are our risks, whether, and we will, along the side, we will discuss about it. But because it always has been the lifeblood of the organization or the humanity we serve from the pharma perspective, but it has become much more, I think, become more prominent with the COVID pandemic, which has become.
Gupta ji, your thoughts on this, and I will also perhaps add a little more to it in terms of, is that shaping your strategies and policies as well?
For ages, I think we have been doing the risk planning. It's not new, right? It has been part of our planning for sure. However, I will say with the intensity it is being done is different depending on like in this pandemic, different kind of challenges came in. Have we not done the risk planning earlier? I think we have done a lot of risk planning in supply chain even earlier, but the challenges this time were totally different. So what I would say is that risk planning or the uncertainty management has been always a topic in the boardrooms, always. However, the different situation give you different kind of challenges, and hence the intensity goes up and down kind of thing. Having said that, I think the policies certainly are changing, and the consumer behavior which we have seen in the past few years is, I mean, totally changing. And because consumer is changing, markets are also changing. We have seen from traditional market to modern trade, now to e-commerce completely kind of thing. So certainly there are challenges coming in, and every challenge has the inbuilt risk or uncertainty into it. So risk planning has been into the process. However, we need to respond depending on which kind of situation has come in, I would say.
And how does the communication, and what would be your advice to practitioners?
I'll use the old cliche which has been used many times, but in pharma it's important. Prevention is better than cure. The second is risk. Many times historically, even including I am guilty of that, has been many times done mapping or the analysis when somebody asks for it. When the chief risk officer asks for it, we complete as an assignment. I think now the time is long come that it has to be embedded into the DNA of our operations or the businesses. So the answer to the practitioner is, this is not a nice to have once a quarter activity for board anymore.
Traditionally, we've been using technologies more for the planning side, right, when it comes to supply chain. How do you see that, the role of technology when it comes to managing risks going forward, Guptaji?
The processes and technologies are complementary. I think the technology is something which facilitates all the actions which you are taking, and they make it easier to capture all those kind of things which are coming. People talk about the data and the visibility generating through data, right? So it starts from data acquisition to data access to data analytics. Now the technology right from, helps into these entire journey which is there, and it facilitates all kind of, so a lot of data, supply chain, you see in manufacturing, logistics, a lot of data is coming out every day. Now, 80% of the data which people talk about is the black data, which is not captured at all. Now, if you have the technology, the same kind of data could be utilized to convert into the information, and which will be utilized to take further actions over there. So human element comes down in these kind of things, and technology takes over to enable human being take decision at a later stage. So I would say that it is an enabler, it is a facilitator, and it is an important part of the entire process, which gives you lots of information to take the decisions.
It's been wonderful having this conversation with you. Thank you very much.
And with that, we will quickly now move forward towards our next keynote address, featuring Thomas Udison, Chief Procurement Officer, Bayer, and co-founder of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge. And let's try to get his keynote address on sustainable procurement, people, planet, profit.
The topic of sustainability is very, very large. And just to calibrate everybody, when I talk about sustainability and sustainable procurement, it does include both people, planet, and profit. So that means it includes all the social dimensions of how do we reduce inequality, how do we have an inclusive economy, the environmental dimension of how do we then also make sure that our activities benefit the biodiversity as on our planet, and of course also the economic dimension, the profit dimension. There is no doubt that the topic is moving very, very fast. There is certainly a lot of traction in the last couple of years. More and more companies are seeing the criticality of this, which is very, very good. But we also do see that there is still a large part of our supply chains that hasn't really understood how critical this is for the long-term success. We have now launched the Sustainable Procurement Pledge to really offer a platform for people who can also then make a stand as a procurement professional. The ambassadors follow the 5 principles. We stand up for people and our planet. And we believe that the way of changing the world is by doing it together. And we don't wait for somebody else to solve our problem. We start with ourselves. We recognize each and one of us have a big role to play. It's about sharing knowledge. It's about listening to other opinions, also being open to that. And of course, making sure that we leave the right legacy of procurement. Actually, it's more than a job. What we do, it's gone beyond that. It is clear that if we want to fix the world, we need to fix our supply chains. And here we are, as procurement, really well positioned to make sure that that interaction between the different supply chain partners is being raised to the highest level. Procurement has really grown to be much more than a job. It's actually a responsibility. Thank you.
With that, it's time for me to sign off now. It's time to say a goodbye, but most importantly, stay safe. Thank you.